Well, good morning. Welcome to another week on Mirador television. And I suppose we are facing a new world. Although I must confess that I have become so cynical about the political class that I don't actually believe anything that's said until it's proven. And there wasn't much to send me roaring down the street, waving my hands in joy over the weekend. Particularly, I may say, the thing that disturbs me is we're now promised 1.5 million homes across the country in the life of this parliament. Now, I'm not against building new homes. Don't misunderstand me. But there are several things that you've got to change. Is if we're going to build, quote, affordable housing, we need a definition before any license is given to put up houses, what affordable as affordable means. Affordable for whom? You could put something up next to Buckingham Palace, and I suspect that few of us could get a mortgage for it. So, if we're going to build new homes, who are they going to be for? And are they indeed affordable? Secondly, we should have learned from the Normans to find out what stock we've got before we go filling the pantry again with new stuff. The Normans took stock of every piece of real estate, every bull, every cow in the country a couple of years after they had conquered the Brits. They knew what they got, what they were doing, on what basis they could do things, what they should do. Because they did this remarkable survey of what Britain was made up from. And this new government looks as if it's in thrall to the building lobby as much as the last one was. In fact, from what was promised at the weekend, more so. Pleasant Green sites will be plundered. some of the worrying new town ideas will be implemented. And thousands of irreplaceable trees will be cut down. Why can't we, as a first step, make a complete survey? I mean, damn it, the Normans did, and that was 1,000 years ago. Why can't we make a complete survey of what brown sites we have, what green fields are already allocated, what assets could be converted, what houses are empty, and what may be renovated so that we're not plundering new ground. Why can't they do that? Because they're politicians and it doesn't enter into their thinking. Got to have got to have numbers, got to show that we're on the way, that we're good for the nation. Well, you're not very good for the nation if you're just going to build new houses willy-nilly, destroying a lot of natural assets that we've got, when you could have used sites that have been sitting empty, sitting vacant, sitting without any movement on the projects that were there. God, there's enough controversy in Lewis, and we're small potatoes. But does anybody know what we've got in Lewis? Not really, because we haven't done a proper survey. You can walk past an empty house where a politician has denied just the day before that there are any old housing that we could use. If we're going to have an age of regeneration, instead of rushing in, why don't we take time to survey what assets, what space, what farms, for that matter, we've got already that were workable or inhabitable, and that which will play the role that Keir Starmer wants us to play. I am at a complete and utter loss. It's never done. It's never done. Or if it is, it's done in a half-hearted way. I suppose this is the first time that I had the opportunity to talk to you about the England football team. Isn't it? Yes, it is. It was a thriller. The heart was banging away at the rib cage most of the game. But they got there in the end. And in a manner that has always escaped them in the past, through penalties. Woo-hee. Quite remarkable. But once again, some things trigger questions in my mind which nobody seems willing to answer. A couple of times now, in the sides that we've met, the commentators have made the point about seasoned players, experienced people who have been the thorn in England's flesh. We have experienced players in this country coming out of our ears. People who are 34, 35, and still very much in the frame for selection to the England side. And we don't pick them on the basis that, well, we've got all this brand new talent coming through. Well, yes, all right, if we get brand new talent and we've got to give them a chance. But why have a wholesale dumping of those people in the age group that is so successful with teams that appear ahead of us, appear before us? Anyway, I mustn't dwell on being too critical too soon. Give me a bit of space, and then I will. Okay. What have we got on Mirador today? Well, hopefully sometime after 9 o'clock, Philip will join me so that we can have just a little chat and an analysis of what's gone on. And at 10 o'clock, we got Harry Atherton from Normandy. And particularly the shocker where the other parties ganged up and managed to push the far right. It looked as if it was going to take the new world of French politics by storm. It was pushed into third place. But it's a question that I posed to Harry, because over the years, I watched political parties make all sorts of all sorts of situations which do make things happen. One of those ploys is, once you realize you're a bit deficient in votes, it's getting the activists out to get the voters to the polls who are on their list as being sympathetic to the party. That's obviously what the French fishermen did. But we don't. The left are always capable of doing it. The right seem to sit on their laurels. Okay. Shall we go to the papers and see whether the sort of thing that I'm mentioning has got any basis in fact? Or are we just another blessing hard softies? That's it. Let's see. Better look at the papers, I think. Better look at the papers. The overall headline: surprise surge for France's left and Reeves to unveil housing plans. A little bit of good news in the sports world. Lewis Hamilton wins a record 9th British Grand Prix. He's been a bit scarce on silverware, as Lewis, but he came good on on the weekend. The Guardian: surprise surge for left pushes French far right into third place. The Guardian leads on Sunday's French parliamentary elections, which saw a surprise surge for France's left-wing alliance as it pushes the country's far right, far right into third place. I think badly written. France's left-wing alliance as it pushes the country's far right parties, I think, into third place. The paper pictures crowds celebrating in Nantes after exit polls suggested no Singapore. Anyway. The Guardian leads on Sunday's French parliamentary elections, which saw a surprise surge for France's left-wing alliance as it pushes the country's far right into third place. The paper pictures crowds cheering in Nantes after names I'm sorry, we had a technical hitch there. I lost this and struggled to get back. How can... Oh, no, I removed him. No, I didn't mean that. There we go. Hello.
I'm only calling in because I didn't think you were very well. I thought you sort of fainted or something.
No, I got a freeze on part of the thing, and I got concentrated trying to unhook it. And you know me and technical equipment, when it goes wrong,
Well, as long as you do look, I'm sorry to say, you do look a bit drawn and tired this morning.
Well, I've been a bit drawn and tired for a week or two now, so
Really?
but I'll struggle through until we take our break. But I'm looking forward.
When will the break come?
Well, you've got the note. It's the week after next is the last week we're going to do.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant the break in the programs.
No.
You mean the holiday break?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
All right.
They keep going.
Okay, so you're okay to carry on?
Yes, I'm okay. But if you can stick around, or you can join me in half an hour or something, it would be very welcome.
Yes, I'll do that.
Okay.
Is Harry due on today?
Harry's due on at 10 o'clock.
Oh, right. I thought it was 9:30 now, but
it's 9:30 on a Friday. But I mean, quite often, if I send him his invitation early, he comes on a bit earlier as well. So I will send him an invitation at 9:30.
the other thing I wanted to suggest to you was, if you wanted to restore even just one of your Facebook accounts, all you have to do is follow the instructions on the error message.
Yes.
And it says recover. I thought something like recover.
Uh-huh.
Now I can't do that because I've gone into it, so I know what happens. But
yes,
but they're your accounts.
Yes, well, I know.
If you have a break in programs, it might be worth just trying one.
Well, I've tried actually.
Oh,
and
right.
The trouble is that those accounts are years old.
Yes.
And were installed by somebody else who worked for us 2 or 3 years ago, and I have no idea how to access them. But I am speaking to Paul Cheeseman tomorrow, who is our expert on that.
Oh, thing. Good. All right.
So we'll have a try to sort that one out.
All right. Well, I'll join you in half an hour or so, Keith.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, there we are. I'm sorry that we had a break there. I'm afraid that if there's nobody around for me to ask when technical things happen, I'm at a loss. Let's see, what time is it? 8:28. Let's go back then to the papers. The Financial Times: France's leftist alliance on track to halt the rise of Le Pen's RN, polls show. And it seems that is confirmed this morning. The FT describes the country as being in limbo over its next government. If final voting tallies are confirmed, the paper adds, and we'll find out from Harry whether that's absolutely the case. Tallies are confirmed, the paper adds, then none of the three main political blocs will have a governing majority, potentially leaving France in political gridlock. I actually suggested to Harry, or asked Harry what he thought would happen if the left ganged up on Marine Le Pen. And he thought that this was exactly what would happen. So it looks as if France, and Macron particularly, has shot themselves in the foot. The Daily Telegraph: Labour to bring back housing targets. Well, you know my view on that. I suggested at the top of the programme that I would much rather see a survey made of what we have available right now before we plough ahead, plastering concrete over our countryside. Will they? No, they won't. But Labour are going to say to councils, you've got to have X number of houses built in your area. And that means that places like Plumpton, for instance, and Shaley are under threat. They could be wall-to-wall housing. And that's really not, just ploughing in that way is not a good policy. Anyway, shock defeat for Le Pen as Macron's alliance holds on. The Telegraph says France's election results were a shock defeat for Le Pen, whose party trailed behind at the hands of the hard left, and Emmanuel Macron, after the electorate turned out in force to keep her party from power, that's Marine Le Pen. The paper turns to the Labour government's overhaul of planning rules, that's back in this country, to meet the party's pledge to build 1.5 million homes in 5 years. It says Chancellor Rachel Reeves will overturn the Tories' decision to water down housing targets. Well, immediately they're plunging into doing things that they think are important and that not necessarily good for the country or that are very, very popular. Oh, everybody says, yes, we need more houses. But then NIMBY takes place, not in my backyard. Because most of us are reluctant to see our green sites go. But do they need to be green sites? Can we not have substantial new houses on sites where buildings have stood before? Or for that matter, can we not have a tally of houses that are available right now? Because wherever you walk, you can always find houses up for rent or for sale. I bet you we don't know. I also bet you that the tally would be substantial. Substantial. If we counted all the houses that are available that are currently empty. The other thing is that from the complaints that float around is that of the present stock, if money was spent on bringing them up to being habitable, that would also add to the number of homes. And that way, at least you reduce cutting down every bloody tree that we've got in this country. The Times. Its banner headline is Hard Left Leader Claims Victory in French Election Shock. But the Times just actually reflects what I've just said. Homes on Greenbelt in a new dash for growth. The Times also focuses on the Chancellor's housing plans, reporting that Ms. Reeves will outline to business leaders the first steps the new government has taken to fix the foundation of our economy so we can rebuild Britain and make every part of our country better off. The paper pictures an injured Emma Raducanu, who was knocked out of Wimbledon yesterday after taking a tumble and hurting her ankle and back. The Daily Mail. Reeves. I'll rip up rules on planning within days. Chancellor sets out growth mission. But the union says Labour must spend billions. The Daily Mail leads on Chancellor Rachel Reeves' plans to rip up rules on planning as the new government looks to boost economic growth while making difficult decisions. The paper looks ahead to the new Chancellor's first major speech on Monday, which the paper says will see ministers begin work on controversial plans to weaken protections. In other words, the way it looks at the moment is cowboy builders get into the starting blocks, as it's going to be a splurge, anything goes type situation. Incidentally, there is another banner headline in the Mail. Chaos in France as hard left surges in elections. The Mirror. Its banner is applause and tears at Rob Burrow funeral. This is the rugby league player who got MS, I think it was, and slowly lost the use of his limbs, but campaigned anyway for support for people suffering the same disease. Then the Mirror proclaims, government gets to work. Chancellor, I'll make every Brit better off. Aha. Rachel Reeves' vow as she exposes the Tories' 58 billion lost tax take. Now, these figures are easy to bandy around because they can manipulate them and move them around to make them say whatever they want. I wish they would stop that. It may be that there is 58 billion quid floating around to do things with. But I think that they're going to tell us how and where. And not just use a figure to boost their own standing or to blacken the opposition. The Daily Mirror pictures Miss Reeves as it also looks ahead to the new Chancellor's speech, where she will vow to urgently deliver an economy that improves all our lives. The paper says she will claim the Tories left public services £58 billion short by failing to boost growth. Well, the economy grew faster than any other in the EU. So she'd better have a very persuasive argument. Am I sounding cynical? That's because I am cynical. I take much of what politicians say with a grain of salt. I've heard it all before, and from many different parties. The Eye has a photograph of England's players jumping up and down with joy. As it says, 3 Lions face semi-final clash with the Netherlands after their dramatic penalty shootout win on Saturday. Labour heading for new Brexit clash with the EU on extra migrants. In its Monday edition, the Eye newspaper says a clash between the UK and the EU is looming, despite Foreign Secretary David Lammy's ambition for a closer relationship with the bloc. A German diplomatic source tells the paper easier mobility for young people is a key priority for the EU. But the paper reports free movement is not on the table for the new Labour government. The Metro, it sticks with the football. Come on, England. Please don't put us through all that again. It was a very, very tense match on Saturday night. The England went 1-0 down, and then a smashing goal brought them level, taking them to extra time. Nobody scored in extra time, so it went to penalties where we traditionally fail. But the 5 nominated strikers stood up, scored 5 times, with Pickford, the English goalkeeper, saving his very first shot. And so we went through with the opposition only scoring 3, but there was no point in taking the last one, so they didn't get a chance to even it up. Come on, England, please don't put us through all that again, says the Metro. And crowds of mourners line the streets, a hero's send-off. And that's Rob Burrows' hero send-off after crowds of mourners gather to say their final goodbye to the rugby star. And the man who fought to get support for motor neuron disease, which he suffered. His funeral was yesterday, but he died on June the 2nd, aged 41. Oh, the good old star. It keeps on talking about this elusive hot heat wave that we're going to get, and I looked at the weather going into the second part of this this week, And frankly, I can't see any of it. But the Star can. 33 centigrade holiday meltdown, it says. But what is discovered that a drink'll shrink your winkle, it says, is that men who decide to cool down with loads of beers, ice cold beers by the pool, is to stay off that, because they say that certain parts of you will shrink if you follow that pattern. Shrinkle winkle is the Daily Star's lead, as it carries a report warning men to lay off the holiday beer to stop their winkles shrinking. Right, let's just look a little bit more closely at the front pages. Rachel Reeves is expected to say in her first speech as Chancellor that she will declare war on Britain's planning system. The Telegraph says Labour's promise to bring back mandatory house building targets will raise fears the party will push councils to build on greenbelt land. Too damn true it will. The Financial Times says shares in house building companies rose after Labour's election win in anticipation of bold action from the new government. The Iron newspaper believes Labour is heading for a new Brexit clash with the EU over migration. A German diplomatic source tells the paper that easier mobility for young people is a key priority for the bloc. However, the article says Labour has ruled out free movement and that the party is reluctant to increase youth migration. Separate analysis by the Times says increasing mobility could take the new government into some difficult areas. The paper says that while the bloc would welcome Britain back into the Erasmus Students' Exchange Scheme, the £135 million a year cost was seen by the previous Conservative government as prohibitively high. The Telegraph says freeing prisoners who have served as little as 40% of their sentence is among the options being considered by Labour to address overcrowding in jails. All in, all out. A prison service source is quoted by the paper as saying the proposal feels like the only measure that buys time. It reports prisons could run out of space within weeks. The article does not carry a direct response from ministers, but says no final decision has been taken and the matter will have to be agreed by the cabinet. The Daily Express uses its front page to lay out its own priorities for the new government. The paper, which is often critical of Labour, has unveiled 10 pledges for Sir Keir Starmer. They include supporting women's rights, saving high streets, and protecting the countryside. The Conservative MP, Esther McVeigh, tells the paper her party colleagues should get behind the proposals and stop what she calls the circular firing squads within the party. Several of the front pages react to the French parliamentary election. The Guardian shows a picture of people in Nantes celebrating projections that a left-wing bloc is on course to come first. The Times says the country has been plunged into political chaos after the coalition fell short of an absolute majority. The Financial Times says the election leaves the EU's second largest economy in limbo. And the Sun reveals that the new Defence Secretary, John Healey, was scrambled to a bomb shelter during his first official visit to Ukraine. The threat of a cruise missile attack happened during his meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. It was, the paper notes, an unusual crash course for any British politician in the second day on the job. There we go. That's a pretty comprehensive look at what the papers are saying about the news. Now, what about the weather? Today, we're going to see rain, and only 17 degrees. Gone back to being quite cool springtime weather. Throughout the day, there isn't one dry period, although looking out of the window at the moment, I can see that it is not raining. The roads still show some wet where it has been raining, but it's a bit, it's I mean, it's not waterlogged. Gets windy about 11 o'clock on, through to about 3 o'clock. So, actually, it's about 5 o'clock. So hold on to your hats because you're likely to lose them. I'm going to have to hold on to mine. It's got nothing to hold it on. Tomorrow, we're going to have a high of 19. Wednesday, a high of 19. Let's see. Oh, some thunder on Friday. And it's not until the middle of next week, around the 16th and 17th, that the temperature starts to rise. And even then, only to 20 or 21. There's no sign of this heat wave that people keep on saying is on the way. No sign at all. So I would enjoy whatever sun we're getting at the moment. And it's going to be sporadic. It's going to be more rain than sun. That's the way it looks at the moment. Right, where are we? What time is it? Oh, it is 8 minutes to 9 o'clock. We will take a break in about 4 minutes or 5 minutes. But let me just talk to you a little bit about what you can expect on Mirador during the week. Today, we've got Harry Atherton coming in from Normandy, and we will be joined at, any time after 9 o'clock by Philip Meredith. And that's always lively and chirpy chat. Then we have Liza Page at somewhere around 11:15. Liza with her alternative view, and she phoned me quite excitedly over the weekend to say I've got lots of things to talk about. There are lots of things happening, and I can't wait to talk to our public about them. So we should expect a feisty program from Liza at about 11:15, taking us through to 11:30 when we say goodbye until tomorrow. Tuesday, we are a bit light on on material. So we'll probably dig into the archives to see what we can show you that we've done in the past. And don't be too dismissive of that. We've done some really good stuff, and we're very happy to show it to you because it's worth watching. Then Wednesday, I think it's John Prideaux with artificial intelligence. Stuart Downey phoned me over the weekend, and one of my good friends and colleagues, Alex Kirby, is going to join him on Wednesday. Alex was a top environmental reporter at the BBC and head of the radio department. Very articulate, very nice guy, great family guy, has a wonderful, wonderful family. And in fact, I spend Christmas Day with them most Christmases, and a joyous occasion it is. It is a lovely time. And in fact, I went down there on the scooter, as I recall, last Christmas. And I hold my breath come November to see whether I'm going to be invited again. But anyway, we'll look forward to having Alex on Wednesday. On Thursday, of course, it's time for John Henty and the Pixie-ish Henty, who will come along with all sorts of bits and pieces to illustrate the great tradition, music hall tradition of Britain, and some of its great old comedians. As John says, it was the comedians of the 1930s, the 1940s, the 1950s who set the base for today's comedians. Arthur Askey, and well, of course, a whole host of other famous people, and the programs, the Goons, Dad's Army, a whole bunch of very, very funny programs. And that takes us through to Friday, when we have the Jamboree again. Wonderful time when we all come together to discuss politics or whatever is catching the national eye. And we get some very interesting views, and actually we're normally far more accurate. Certainly we're on the French election, and to some extent on this election, and our election, from the mutterings and meanderings of those who supposedly know. Right. That's this coming week, which we kicked off this morning. It's 8:59. We will say for 5 minutes, toodle pip, and then we'll be back. So go and make yourself a nice cup of coffee. You've even got time to boil an egg. Certainly a piece of toast. Full English, You have to leave that until later in the week. All right. See you in a minute or two. Bye.